Are wood plugs really that different from plastic baits? You ready running guns? Time for blast off. Let's go. Hey guys, Todd here with you. Welcome back to Bassin 101. Truck talk and wood plugs. What's the difference between a wood plug, or it could be cedar, sugar pine, balsa, maple syrup? I don't know. But what's the difference between those and plastic baits? Well, with plastic baits, you can produce the same bait day after day after day after day, because you're building they're the same components, everything else. They're very consistent. Very consistent. But you take a wood bait like a balsa plug, no two will be alike. And you got to keep in mind that balsa plugs are pretty much all handmade. It's all hands-on kind of stuff. You know, even if you have duplicator copiers that you can copy the same bait over and over again, which was Bagley used to do. But Cliff Pace at Black Label, he's got a duplicator. Rob Cochran at Jawjacker's got a duplicator. I've seen those. He built those himself. Those are actually pretty cool. I've been to Rob's shop. Awesome. That man right there knows his stuff. But a balsa bait is just different. You know, Cliff Pace said something a while back that it kind of hit me too. I was kind of like, you know, you got a good point there. But people wonder, why would you choose a balsa bait over just a standard plastic bait? Well, he was at a gas station and he saw this guy who was real twitchy. He was nervous. Couldn't sit still, pumping gas. And he was just different from everybody else at the gas pumps pumping gas. And it hit him. That's a balsa bait. When you got everything else that runs straight and everybody's using the plastic baits or whatever, and you got a balsa plug that's just different, that's why we use them. I use them. I love wood plugs. I mean, I've even had Poes, some of the Poes that I had that were actually really good plugs that just ran different from the other ones of the same model. That's just density of the cedar. But balsa to me is the most intricate. That's the most intricate wood, because you can have a 3-foot board, say a 2x2 3-foot board, and you cut that thing down in 3-inch lengths, and you go to put them things on the scales and start weighing them. They're all going to weigh different. They're also going to have different cut of the grain. So some are going to be softer, some are going to be harder. Balsa is an interesting piece of wood. And you can get different grades of it, from the softest to the hardest. I think Cliff and Rob pretty much use the hardest. It just makes for a more durable plug. I've carved some of the hard balsa. I want to tell you what, you got to work at it a little bit. But balsa baits are different just because you're not going to have two that will ever be the same. I mean, you can buy, let's say, even back in the day, let's go old school. Let's go with some Bagleys. How about some Bagley B2s? Just off the top of my head, B1 or even B3. Get you 3 or 4 of them all exactly alike from the same period. Well, you don't have to get them from the same period, but check them to make sure they're all built the same. Try them in the water and all of them will be different. They'll all react different. That's interesting, isn't it? And that's just the density of the wood. But that's why I like balsa. That's why a lot of the guys like balsa. You'd be surprised how many pros have handmade balsas in their boat. They don't talk about it, but they've got them. I know the conversation I had with John Cruz over at Missile Baits. He's got a bunch of them. It's just something about them. Just something about them. And they're year-long baits. They're not just a cold water bait. I mean, I'm not talking about just flat-sided balsa baits. I'm talking about even the round baits, square bills, things like that. There's just something about the balsa baits that are different from plastic There's one problem. You're going to pay for them. They are handmade. And those guys who know what they're doing and really build a durable bait, you'll pay for it. Because there's a lot of research, a lot of trial and error in that stuff. You know, Rob said it best when he told me, he says, to be in this business, you got to be part electrician, part machinist, part mechanic, part carver, part painter, part engineer, part chemist. And he's right. He's 100% right. There's a lot that goes into those baits. So whenever you see them online or you see them on eBay and you're looking at 15, 20, 25 bucks a piece and thinking, oh my gosh, dude, there's a lot that went into that bait. I mean, you won't be a millionaire off making balsa baits. But I want to tell you, it's the guys that build them because they have a passion for it. They love it. I love it. I love building balsa baits. But there's a difference in them. And that's why a lot of us prefer them over plastic. Again, I don't have anything against plastic. I'm a wiggle wart junkie. I love wiggle warts because, especially when you get the older ones from the 90s, they just got that hunt everywhere. Can't beat that. And that's what a balsa bait will do over a plastic bait. Now, you can build a plastic bait to juke and jive. I mean, look at the Spro Baby John 50. That sucker just whack-a-doodle all over the place. But balsa baits, to me and to a lot of guys I've talked to, it's a power finesse bait. A balsa bait is a power finesse bait. Power bait because you are cranking it. You're cranking and gunning, cranking and gunning. Finesse because no two are alike. And they each do a little different thing. That's the beauty of balsa baits. But maybe some of you guys throw them. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have got some old Bagleys and stuff like that. Same thing. No two run the same. Now, I guarantee you there's some of you guys out there that have pet balsa baits that you have. I mean, and I'm even including the Rapala Shad Wrap. You know, once in the blue moon, you get one Shad Wrap that's just a little bit different. Although I will give Rapala credit. They've been very consistent over the years. You get the same bait each time. That's because they're tank tested, or they were. I don't know if they still are now. But I remember getting a Shad Wrap that was just a little bit different than the other ones. Maybe it ran a hair bit deeper, or maybe it had a little bit different wiggle to it. Again, density of balsa. And not only that, but a foiled covered Rapala is going to run different than a skin covered Rapala. Skin covered meaning the old original crawfish pattern and the shad pattern versus the gold and silver foils. The gold and silver foils have a different action than the coated ones. Imagine that. Maybe some of you have noticed that. Like to me, you know, one of my favorite Rapala lures of all time too is a Rapala Fat Wrap number 7. No two of those are the same, because some you got painted, some you have foil, and it changes the weight, the density of the bait. So what do you guys think about that? How many of you guys have like a special couple wooden baits? Maybe there's a pose you really like, or Bagleys you really like, or maybe you've gotten some of the newer stuff. Maybe there's a Black Label that you like, or maybe even a Jawjacker that just is different from the other ones that you got. Everybody has those, including plastic baits. Some guys have plastic baits that are like that too. But that's all I got, guys. I just want to give you my opinion of what I think about balsa baits versus plastic baits. And again, I'm not downing plastic at all. Just that balsa's just has a power finesse system that plastic baits just don't have. So that's all I got, guys. That's my infinite wisdom, which means bupkis. So until next time, remember, new techniques are trendy, but past never change. Let the Father bless you, keeping Yeshua's name, and as always, fish on.